Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi, this is Bob. I'm Benji's papa.
Hello. Wonderful to have you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So we'll go ahead and just wait until 7. We have about 5 more minutes to let other people on.
Okay.
I will let everyone know. We'll ask you to go ahead and mute just initially, unless you are reaching out with a question, which we'll have time at the end. And we are recording this, so if you prefer for your image to maybe not be on the recording, you can go ahead and turn your camera off.
Say hi, Benji.
Hi.
Hi. How you doing?
How was your shower?
Good.
It's been about 5 minutes.
That's pretty speedy.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go over math while we're waiting. Okay.
Awesome.
Here, I can show you how to mute yourself.
You want me to mute while we're waiting? Okay, right here.
Hi, Amy. I'm making dinner, so I have the video off. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's just fine.
Perfect.
But we need the recipe. It's only fair.
It's French onion chicken. I'm sure I could share it with you.
All righty. All right, buddy. So what's on this one?
All righty. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining tonight for this call. We will try to keep it short and sweet while still going into full details about kind of what to expect for camp this summer. I am Amy. I'm the summer camp director at Stone Canyon. This will be my 5th summer at Stone Canyon. I started as one of the counselors 5 years ago. This is my 2nd summer as the director. We're just really, really excited for this summer. Just a little bit of Zoom etiquette. So we will ask that everybody keep their Zooms muted, just so we don't have any audio interference from other people. I have kind of curated some slides based on the questions that you submitted and just kind of what I know frequently asked questions are about camp that I'll go through to try to answer some of those anticipated questions. And then at the end, we'll definitely have time for you to ask any questions that you might have. You're welcome to pop questions in the chat as you think about them, and I'll go through them at the end. Or if you would rather just unmute yourself and ask at the end, that will be just fine. I will let you know we are recording this call to share with families that can't be here with us tonight. So just that heads up, if you have your video on, other people that visit our website or get emailed the link to this might be able to see your picture. So just to give you a heads up there. And I will go ahead and get us started. I'll share my screen and we'll get going. So summer camp 2022, we're really excited for this summer. I wanted to start just by talking about our COVID protocols. I recognize that might be a really hot item that a lot of you are interested in. So I just wanted to go into that first of all. So all of these guidelines were based on guidelines that came to us from the Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment, the CDC, the American Camp Association. We have kind of compiled all of their recommendations into what feels right for our camp. So the first thing that I wanted to mention, we are requiring that all campers come to camp with proof of a negative COVID test that was administered within 72 hours of them arriving at camp. We will accept PCR tests. We also will accept proctored rapid tests. So what that means is kind of on those rapid tests that you can buy from like your CVS or Walgreens. Some of them will have a QR code on them that if you scan that with your phone, you're able to have somebody proctor that test via telehealth. It's a process that is done typically in 15 or 20 minutes. It's pretty fast. Of course, if you have further questions about that, please reach out. One thing that I failed to mention is as we approach camp, definitely keep an eye on your email, just for emails coming from me. Starting about 4 weeks prior to your session of camp, I'll be in touch weekly with various information that will cover a lot of what I'm talking about during this presentation tonight. So then beyond those tests, we also will be performing daily health screenings at camp, just generally checking for a temperature every day, checking for common signs of COVID. We'll continue with our enhanced cleaning protocols that we have had in place. Our goal, we have a beautiful 99-acre property. Our goal is to be out and about as much as we are able to. And we have a nurse that is on site 24/7 that is able to kind of respond and assess anything as needed. I know in our initial emails about camp, we mentioned that we would also have in place a 14-day pre-camp health screening for any COVID symptoms. We feel confident that with a negative COVID test coming in, that we don't need to have that 14-day health screening. So again, we'll be in touch kind of with that update, but just to keep you all aware of that. Moving on from our COVID protocols, next, I wanted to talk a little bit about our counselors. So we have 10 fantastic counselors lined up to come to us this summer. Our counselors are a minimum of 18 years of age. They all will be first aid and CPR certified and provide all supervision and facilitation during camp. Our staff participates in 2 weeks of training prior to camp. So in addition to being trained on our various activities, that training also includes conflict resolution training, behavior management, teaching tips and techniques, basically anything that we can come up with that we think will prepare the counselors to really facilitate campers' experience during the summer. All of our staff are employees of Douglas County School District. And so with that, they are background checked by the Douglas County Sheriff's Department. They also go through an FBI and a CBI background check and are fingerprinted and all of that. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about what arrival and departure looks like. So arrival will take place every Sunday, just depending on what week of camp you're attending, and it takes place from 1:30 to 3 o'clock p.m. So there's kind of a window. You can come at any point during that time, keeping in mind that the check-in process takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes. We do ask that nobody arrives before 1:30, just because during that time, our staff is working on preparing our site and making sure everything is ready to go. We do have a gate to get on and off of our property, and that gate will remain closed and locked until that 1:30 timeframe. So if you happen to come early, we would definitely recommend maybe continuing down 105 a little ways to Palmer Lake and grabbing some ice cream, walking around the lake. Just give us that time to kind of get settled and ready to go. Once that gate opens, we'll have staff stationed along the road to help you know where to go, and we'll start that check-in process. So we have a couple stations. First is going to be the paperwork. So at that point in time, that's when I will be collecting those negative COVID tests. Also, any of the required paperwork that wasn't submitted on Active, our registration system, can be turned in person on arrival day. The state of Colorado requires that all of our campers undergo a health check when they arrive at camp, just to make sure that we don't have anything contagious coming into camp with us. This includes checking temperature, checking feet and hands for any sores, and checking the head for lice. So if we find any health issues that might have a potential of spreading at camp, your camper will not be permitted to attend until that issue has been resolved. That check-in process will also include medication drop-off. So if you're sending any medications with your camper to camp, the nurse will be there to take in those medications, make sure you have all the proper paperwork, ask any questions that they might have, just to make sure that we're able to take care of your camper. Check-in will also include some information about Camp Store, which I'll go into more detail about in a little bit, but just giving you information about how to set up an account if you haven't done so yet. And there will also be an opportunity to drop off any letters or care packages that you maybe have pre-assembled and put together that you might want to drop off with your camper. And then it will be time to have everybody head to the sports field and say your goodbyes. We'll have our counselors there playing different games and doing arts and crafts projects, just really working to make everybody comfortable and kind of feel at ease. One thing that I do want to note with that arrival process, in previous years, we have allowed campers and their families to go up to the cabins to kind of get settled in an effort just to make sure that we are having the safest camp experience as possible. We are not allowing those cabin visits this year. I'm just trying to make sure we have no more people in the cabins that we need to. I also want to note with that arrival, so getting to camp can be a little bit tricky just because as we get close to camp, we lose cell service. And so we definitely recommend having the directions up on your phone if you need them kind of in advance before you lose that service, or bringing printed directions. It is also worth noting that during the summer, the Larkspur Renaissance Festival is in full swing, which can cause some traffic delays in the town of Larkspur, but also on the freeway, kind of between Castle Rock and Larkspur. And so just be aware of that potential for increased traffic and longer travel times. You can also take an alternative to I-25 by getting to Larkspur on Highway 105. Next, to talk just a little bit about departure. So departure will take place on Saturdays from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Anyone picking up your campers must be listed as an authorized pickup for your camper. So when you registered them, you indicated people that were or were not authorized pickups for your camper. On arrival day, we'll check that list with you just to verify that everybody that needs to be on there is on there. And everybody needs to have a photo ID to sign their camper out. During that departure time, we'll be returning any medications. We will go over the Camp Store balance. We'll also have apparel available for purchase on those departure days. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about medications at camp. So like I mentioned, we have a nurse at camp 24/7 anytime camp is running. that is able to administer medications as needed, whether that is on a schedule or when a need arrives. All medications and supplements need to be in their original packaging with the dosage clearly labeled. And we need to have the medical release form signed by a doctor and submitted for any medications to be administered. So that is prescription medications, over-the-counters, supplements, vitamins, all of that, we need that paperwork for. If your camper takes their medication at a regularly scheduled time, we often will have campers in a group escorted to the nurse to take that medication. If it is at a unique time during, maybe during an activity, or if it's on an as needed basis, the nurse carries a radio at all times, as do all of our staff, and is able to come and find campers and give them medications if needed. Next, hot ticket item, talking a little bit about food at camp. So we have delicious and nutritious food at camp. We have a fantastic kitchen team that has a lot of experience accommodating different dietary needs and preferences and food allergies. We are what is known as a nut-aware facility. So we don't serve any products with nuts in them. We may serve items that are processed in facilities where nuts are also processed. So when you registered, you had the opportunity to share any food dietary needs about your campers. So we have that information, but if you have additional questions about that or concerns, I've included our chef's email there at the bottom of the slide. I'll also post that in the chat towards the end of the call. And it is, of course, our goal to make sure that every camper is fed. That includes, picky eaters or those that might not like certain things. We train our staff to keep an eye on the food that campers are intaking and are prepared to offer alternatives. If we notice that somebody, maybe isn't liking a meal, we can make up a quesadilla or buttered noodles or whatever. We just want to make sure that the campers are getting the calories that they need because we are active at camp. If you have, like I mentioned, if you have concerns about food or dietary needs or allergies, definitely reach out to our chef. We can definitely work to accommodate if there is an exacerbated need to maybe have some food sent, just so we can make sure that your camper has food to eat. Next, to talk a little bit about our camp store. So we offer a camp store Monday to Friday, each day from 2 o'clock to 2:45 p.m., which is during our free time period. Food items cost between $1 and $2, and we have Gatorades, ice cream bars, popsicles, we have candy, we have salty snacks like munchies or chips, all of those items available for purchase. We also have apparel items available for purchase, things like hats and water bottles and sweatshirts that can be pre-ordered or, like I mentioned, bought on Saturday at pickup. To set up a camp store account, just to give a quick little tutorial. So on our website, across the top bar there, you'll click that apparel button on the far right-hand corner, and it will bring up our various apparel items, which includes one that is camp store account. So you can add 5, 10, 15, 20, basically increments of $5 onto your camp store account. We do reach out to families if somebody's camp store balance ever drops below $5, just so they're aware and they have the option to add additional funds if they would like to. We also keep an eye on what campers are kind of spending as they're going. We try to kind of coach them to make sure they're not spending all of their money at once. We also do have a limit on how many items they're able to purchase per day, so they can buy a Gatorade and 2 other food items. So they can't, go crazy and buy everything all at once. Camp store money less than $5 is non-refundable. Any remaining funds there can be added towards the purchase of an apparel item on that Saturday, or if it's less than $5, it will be automatically donated to our camp tuition assistance fund. Next, to talk a little bit about a daily schedule at camp. So every morning, Rise and Shine is going to be at 7 o'clock. Everybody will have about an hour to get ready for the day before heading out for breakfast. And then following breakfast, we move into our daily activities. As a camp, we try to offer as many opportunities for campers to have a say in what their camp experience will be. And the first way that we do that is through our club activities. So when you registered your camper for one of 5 clubs. We have the Thrill Seekers Club, which is kind of high adventure games, thrill-seeking type activities. We have the Got Science Club, where there's a lot of science experimentation and an opportunity to test things out. We have our Outdoor Avengers Club, which is kind of our outdoor skills club, learning about edible plants on property, doing nature hikes, those kinds of things. We have our Creative Minds Club, which is for all those that are really creative. So a lot of opportunities to create and do art projects, play improv games, do some dancing or performing. And then we have our Team Cuisine Club, which is our cooking club. So campers will have the chance to really build a solid baseline of cooking skills and whip some fun things up in our kitchen. So clubs take place for 2 hours every morning. And campers will stay with that same club for the full course of the week. Following club time, we move into morning snack. Very important time. We'll deliver that snack to campers wherever they are. And then following that snack time, we have our first Camper's Choice block. So Camper's Choice blocks are 1 hour long, and essentially it's just like what it sounds. Campers have the choice to sign up for an activity of their choosing during that block. We try to offer between 5 and 7 activities each block. And that's when campers, can sign up to go to the high ropes course or zip line or do archery, participate in tie-dye or group games, arts and crafts. We try to offer a big spectrum of activities during those Camper's Choice periods so we can make sure everybody has something that they enjoy. Following Camper's Choice, I messed the schedule up here a little bit. Following Camper's Choice from 12 to 1, we have lunch. And then after lunch, we have that rest hour from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So during rest hour, everybody heads up to the cabin and has to do some type of quiet activity in their own bunk, just a little midday decompression for everyone before we head out for free time in that camp store period that I talked about. And following that time, we have 2 additional Camper's Choice blocks for the day. Once those are done, we have dinner, and then after dinner we have Summer Citizens, which is when everybody pitches in to make sure that camp is staying nice and clean, picking up trash, those kinds of things. And then from 7:30 to 9, we have our evening activity, which is camp-wide. We do something different every night. So we'll do outdoor movie nights, we do a carnival, we do a big color wars competition. Of course, we do campfires. Those evening activities are a lot of fun. Following that evening activity time, we have bunk time from 9 to 10, and then lights out is at 10 o'clock each night. Just a little bit more about our activities. So we do keep a staff ratio of 1 counselor to every 8 campers. And in the event of bad weather for those Camper's Choice periods or for our clubs, we do have our staff train on various adaptations for rainy day activities if we need to be inside for whatever reason. And we kind of have a slew of those things ready to go if needed, but we'll knock on wood and hope for excellent weather all summer. One kind of anomaly to that regular schedule is going to be Lake Day, which takes place every Friday. So every Friday we'll travel to the Aurora Reservoir for the day. We'll be there from, we leave camp at about 10. We aim to get back around 5. So it's a pretty full day there at the reservoir. Transportation is provided by DCSD Transportation. So we have buses and drivers that come to us from them. And there at the reservoir, we really just enjoy some time in the sun. So the reservoir has a roped in 4-foot deep swim beach. They have lifeguards on duty there, in addition to our staff being stationed at various areas to keep an eye on our campers. We grill out there for lunch. They have a little playground that we can play in. We bring floaties and sandcastle building toys and all kinds of fun things for Lake Day. I also wanted to talk about our cabins. So we have 2 cabins at camp. We divide by gender, and each cabin has 4 bunk rooms within it that sleep between 10 and 14 people, depending on the room. As you can see from the photo, we have bunk beds in those cabins. Each cabin will have a counselor assigned that stays in the cabin with the campers. And cabins are assigned based on campers' age. So for overnight camp, we have campers ranging from 9 to 15 years old. Generally, we'll kind of divide from age from there for bunk rooms. So we might have a bunk room for 9 and 10-year-olds and a room for 11 and 12-year-olds, one for 13-year-olds, one for 14-year-olds. It just kind of depends on the ages that we have registered that session, but that is our general method for dividing up the bunk rooms. We do work to accommodate all bunk mate requests. So when you registered, you had a chance to indicate if you had a bunk mate request. If something has changed since then, of course, please feel free to email me. We try our hardest to accommodate those requests. The cabins do have electricity and heat in case we get some cold weather, running water. They all have single-use bathrooms and showers that are completely private. And bunks will be assigned a daily shower time, whether it's in the morning or the evening or during that kind of camp rest hour period. Next, kind of in relation to cabins, to talk a little bit about what to pack. So our packing list can be found on our website. If you go to the summer camp tab and hit that parent information button, and then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can find the enrolled families hub. And that page has all kinds of details about arrival and departure. It has a link to our FAQ page. That's where this video will be posted once we're done with it. It also has the packing list on there. We do ask that you follow the packing list closely and keep an eye on the weather for Larkspur the week that your camper is going to come. Typically in Larkspur, we have slightly cooler weather than you might see in Castle Rock or Highlands Ranch or Parker, so we definitely recommend taking a peek at the weather. We do have laundry facilities at camp if needed, but we try to reserve those just for emergency situations. So we definitely recommend sending enough clothing items to cover your camper for the full week of camp, plus maybe a few extras just in case something gets wet or dirty. Campers should plan to bring their own bedding to camp. So like you saw from the previous slide, our bunk beds do have twin size mattresses on them. It's really whatever makes the most sense, what you think your camper will be comfortable with for bedding. A really common system is kind of a fitted sheet with a sleeping bag to use as a blanket. Next up, just to talk a little bit about contraband, so things that are not allowed at camp. So we don't allow campers to bring any weapons, which includes pocket knives and lighters. We ask that campers not bring any food to camp with them. Our primary reason for this is we just would like to keep food out of the cabin to avoid attracting any critters there. If you choose to send food in a care package to your camper, that is fine as long as it is nut free, but all food items will need to be kind of eaten in that setting where they're opening that care package and can't be taken up to the cabin. We also ask that no electronics are set to camp. So that includes phones, iPods, Kindles, smartwatches. Kind of the big exception to this would be like a digital camera. We really would encourage disposable cameras just for safekeeping purposes, but you definitely can send a digital camera. Our reasoning for this, we really find that connections are made in amazing ways when we kind of are not hindered by technology or distracted by it. We also, like I mentioned, we lose cell phone service as we get to camp, and we don't really have any cell phone service here at camp. We do have Wi-Fi in some of our buildings, but we try to kind of keep that Wi-Fi for our staff that are doing work. And we also ask that campers don't bring any medications to camp that aren't being kept with the nurse. So all medications will need to be turned into the nurse at the beginning of camp. Next, I just wanted to talk a little bit about homesickness. So homesickness, we know, is a completely normal experience and something that people might experience while they're at camp. Typically, like you saw, we keep our schedule pretty busy. Our campers are so engaged in what they're doing that they often don't have time to kind of think about other things that are going on outside of camp. And we do train our staff to really focus on community building, starting from the very beginning of camp to help campers make connections and feel really comfortable at camp. However, we also recognize that homesickness will arise for some individuals at camp. And again, we train our staff on how to recognize signs of homesickness and kind of work to process through that experience with the camper and support them as they move through it. It generally is not our process to allow phone calls home in cases of homesickness, as we recognize that often makes the situation worse. Kind of to help prepare your camper prior to camp. Focus on how excited you are for their camp experience and to hear about their adventures at camp. If you're sending letters or emails, we really recommend that you not express how much you miss them, but rather ask questions about what they're doing and talk about how you're looking forward to hearing stories from them. It can also be great practice to maybe have your camper spend a night away from home at a family member's or a close friend's prior to camp, just to try to kind of get them used to being away from their home environment to try to quell homesickness before it arises. Next, just to talk a little bit about camper mail. So each day during free time, mail will be passed out. There are a couple options for getting mail to your camper. So you can definitely send snail mail. Like I mentioned, we'll be sending out emails, which will include our specific address and how to address any letters that you might be sending your camper. We definitely recommend sending any mail before Thursday just to make sure it's delivered before your camper departs. We also have an email account set up that you can email. It's that mail@stonecanyonedge.org email, and you can email your campers. We'll print off emails every day at noon and deliver the letters that day. Just keeping in mind that as we're technology free, campers won't be able to email back. And you can also bring pre-written letters and care packages to that arrival day that we can collect then and pass out. Just make sure you indicate on the letter or the package when you would like it passed out to your camper. And campers can definitely write letters back. So be sure to send them with envelopes and stamps. We do have some signs put up that teach campers how to address envelopes and all of that good stuff so that they'll be able to send their letters to you. Next, I just wanted to talk a little bit about making payments and uploading forms in Active. So I just have screenshotted some kind of steps from Active's user help website. So when you log into your account, which I'll put a link to our specific online account in the chat, there will be a button that says pay in full or pay bill now, and you can go in and make those payments. We have passed our last payment date of May 15th, so hopefully you are all paid up, but if you do have any balance remaining, kind of these are the steps that you'll go through. And you will get an email from Active of a receipt confirming your payment. And next, for uploading forms. So again, when you log into your account, you'll see an option for supplemental forms. So essentially you can pre-upload your camper's immunization record, their physical, and if you're sending them any medications, that medication release. So under the session, you'll click to download the form. You can print it or fill it out online, and then either take a picture of it, or if you filled it out online, save it with those changes, and you can upload the form and click submit to add it. So that was a lot of information. That is everything that I had prepared to talk to you. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I see we have some messages in the chat. I also will post a few links there, but at this time, if you would also like to ask any questions that you might have, I'm happy to go through those.
Can I ask a question, please? Hi. My son's coming down for the overnight in July, first week of July. He had his medical, I think, end of August last year. Does he need to get a most up-to-date medical rather than the annual one he does?
Great question. So we need a physical that was administered within the last 365 days. So if it was given last August, he should be good to go.
Thank you.
Quick question. If they have a headache, can the nurse administer something for that?
So when you registered, there was a section about over-the-counter medications that we keep here at camp. So we have Benadryl and acetaminophen. Okay. So if you gave us permission to administer those medications, we are able to, yes.
Awesome.
Great question. Just looking back through the chat. I see when do they eat lunch? Sorry, that was not included on the schedule. Lunch is from 12 to 1 every day. what are they able to do during the rest hour? So we really encourage quiet activities during that time. We find that at the beginning of the week, often, campers maybe have a lot of energy, and so we have books available in the cabin that they can read. We have paper and pencils that they can draw with. Sometimes campers will have a deck of cards and play a personal game of solitaire. We do find that towards the end of the week, campers really start to take advantage of that rest time and try to rest a little, maybe take a nap, those types of things. A question about inhalers. So we do follow essentially if campers are able to self-carry inhalers at school, we will honor that. You just need to bring to camp with you proof of that self-carry contract that you have at school, and we'll go ahead and honor that. The sunblock policy. I realized I forgot to talk about sunblock and water, which are really important things for us at camp. So we really encourage that campers are sipping on water regularly throughout the day, putting sunscreen on. We will go over the radio every hour or so and just make an announcement reminding everybody to drink some water and put on sunblock. Sunblock is on the packing list. We definitely recommend that your camper bring their own sunblock with them. But if they don't, our counselors carry sunblock in their first aid kits and are able to have the campers use that if you gave permission for that. We also have insulated jugs around our site full of water, ice water. And so as campers are sipping on water, if they make it through their whole water bottle, fantastic. They'll have a spot to fill up and keep going so that they can keep sipping. Fitbits are allowed, that's just fine. I will say smartwatches, as long as the Wi-Fi component is disabled, we will allow those. I know it's nice to kind of track steps and see exactly what your camper is doing during the day. I see some more questions about Tylenol, Motrin, ibuprofen. So again, we have standing orders. We keep Benadryl and acetaminophen at camp. So if you gave permission for your campers to take those medications and they need them, our nurse is able to give them to them. If you prefer something other than those over-the-counter medications, you're free to send them. But again, you would need to have a signed medical release form from a doctor, just indicating when and how that might be administered. I see a question about flavored water. We would count those flavor packets as food, not in the sense that they're actual food that campers might be eating, but that they have a scent attached to them that might attract campers to the cabin. If that is a real sticking point that will get your camper to drink more water, please feel free to email me. We can maybe talk about keeping those packets in the kitchen and kind of giving them to him as needed. Campers definitely are able to bring their own books. We recommend that. We think that's awesome. If they don't bring their own books, like I mentioned in the cabins, we do have bookshelves with appropriate reading material for campers this age. For showers, we don't have a hard shower time here at camp. We recommend fast showers just in terms of efficiency. We sometimes have a lot of people that we need to get through showers, and also from an environmental stance, making sure that we're not wasting too much water, but we don't have a hard and fast time set on that. Those home COVID tests would be permitted as long as they are proctored by a medical professional. So on most of that home boxes, there's a QR code on them that you can scan and have it proctored via telehealth. What measures are taken to ensure campers take showers during the allotted time? That's a good question. We do have our counselors check to make sure that campers' hair is wet when they're getting out of the showers. We also talk, like I mentioned, we don't have a hard time for showers, but if we notice that a camper is done with a shower in 1 minute, that might be a time when our counselor has a conversation, just checking in to see if showers are happening. Campers should plan on bringing their own pillows to camp. Back to sunblock. So we do kind of help prompt campers in the application. We're often, we'll have our counselors, oh, like I'm sunblocking my nose. Is everybody sunblocking their nose? What about your shoulders? Like, let's make sure to get our shoulders. We keep an eye, and if we notice that somebody seems to be getting a little pink or red in one area, we'll talk to them and check in to make sure they're getting sunblock on those areas. Good ideas for care packages. So I would really recommend going to like the Dollar Tree or the dollar section of Target. Things like glow sticks can be really fun, or little small activity books that can be completed. This is a few years ago now. I don't know if slime is still really big with the kids, but slime was a really popular one to send. Just lots of fun little knickknacks, bouncy balls, those kinds of things. Pictures from home also can be a lot of fun in those care packages. We do have campers keep their day pack with them, which is on our packing list. So essentially just an average sized backpack that they can keep their water and sunblock in, maybe keep a jacket in, because you never know if we might get an afternoon rainstorm, those kinds of things. Polaroid cameras are just fine. Those are a lot of fun to bring. Asking about if a camper is coming to camp 2 weeks in a row, pickup and drop off is at those same times. So campers do need to leave on Saturdays and come back again on the Sunday. Campers would be able to bring a football to camp if they wanted to. We do have various sporting equipment. So we have basketballs and soccer balls and footballs and frisbees, all kinds of fun things. But if somebody wanted to bring their own football, they definitely would be welcome to do that. Stuffed animals are just fine. My first summer as a counselor, I remember one week I was with the 9 and 10-year-old campers, and when we moved into the cabin, we all had a moment where everybody grabbed their stuffed animals and introduced them to each other. It was a very fun moment. So yes, definitely you're welcome to bring your stuffed animals. We don't have a campfire every night, so we do an opening campfire on Sunday night and a closing campfire on Friday night, with other evening activities taking place on those other nights. All right, so I think I have worked my way through all of those questions in the chat. If anybody has other questions that they'd like to unmute and ask, or other questions to put in the chat, please feel free.
Is it just a pillow they need, or covers as well?
Yeah, all bedding materials. So a pillow, a fitted sheet, and a sleeping bag is a really popular option, but you're welcome to send sheets and blankets if you would rather.
Okay, no, that's perfect. Thank you.
Great question.
On
Sorry,
on the immunization forms, does it have to be the one that's printed off there, or can it be the doctor's record from their office?
Great question. So we are able to accept all immunization records per our licensing standards. When they come to check our camper files, we do need to have them on that Colorado immunization record that is on our website. There is a training available to be able to transcribe the records onto that sheet. So we are able to do it, but it is kind of a tedious process, just speaking personally. And so if you are able to have your doctor complete on that form that we need that is listed on our website, that would be super appreciated. But if you're not able to, we can accept other immunization forms.
Okay, thank you. And those can be uploaded with the physical forms and everything else too, right?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Ms. Amy. Can you choose multiple clubs?
Just one club for the week. But if you are signed up for one club, but there's another one that sounds really interesting to you, normally we offer some of the activities that those clubs do as campers' choice activities. So you kind of have the chance to double dip without being in both clubs.
Thank you.
Amy, I gathered from your description that the kids will apply their own sunscreen with modeling. If that doesn't go well, will the staff intervene and help?
We definitely can have that if we need to go well. We do try to be kind of conscious of not touching other people's bodies if we don't have consent and all of those things.
Totally.
But if we reached that point, we definitely would put that into place. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great question. A few more questions coming in on the chat. So a question about that water flavoring with the scent and different animals. So we are on a 99-acre property. We do sometimes have animals on site. Typically, we as a camp are making enough noise that the animals are uninterested and coming down too close to us. We do train our staff on kind of the correct process to take if we see different wildlife around camp. All of our staff carry radios, and they can radio to let anybody know if we see an animal, so that kind of our administrative team can go and help deal with that. Great question. Will siblings of opposite genders be able to see each other? So outside of cabin time, our campers are really intermixed with each other. All of our clubs are co-ed. Our campers' choice activities, campers sign up for that. And so if they want to sign up with a friend, even if they might be in a different cabin, they're welcome to. Our meals at camp are also open seating. So if campers want to sit with somebody from a different cabin or a sibling, they're able to do that. And then our evening activities take place camp-wide. So really outside of the specific time when campers are in the cabins, there definitely would be a lot of opportunities for siblings to see each other. Let's see, a question about a dress code. So that's a great question. We don't have a hard and fast dress code in place. This is something that we actually have kind of been talking about recently. We generally would say clothes that cover the parts of the body that need to be covered, while also keeping in mind we're out in the sun a lot, we're active, trying to make sure that clothing is providing protection from the sun, but also campers might be moving around a lot, and making sure that their clothing is comfortable, and will also kind of provide them those protections. If there's an issue with any paperwork that was uploaded, yes, we'll be in touch. That is, I think the 2-week out email is us reaching out if you haven't uploaded your paperwork or something is wrong, so that you have some time to kind of get it sorted out prior to then. Next, a question about COVID vaccines versus the test. So we are requiring that all of our campers be tested. And our reasoning for this is just because it's hard to verify, you know, when somebody had their shot versus their booster versus their various doses. We also, as a camp, are trying to make sure that our staff are being kept safe so that we can continue to operate week after week. And so we feel strongest that everybody coming in with a negative test will keep our community safe. And I did forget to mention, we'll have our staff testing weekly as well. Headlamps are great. A flashlight or headlamp is on the packing list, so that's a great idea to bring. Meals, we have open seating for our meals, so campers can eat with members of their cabins, or if they would like, or kind of pick and choose who they want to eat with. As far as kind of our recommendation for how many bags to bring when packing, we really recommend trying to fit everything into a large duffel if you're able to, recognizing that, you know, your pillow and your sleeping bag might need to be separate from that duffel bag. Our cabins are up a hill a ways, and so a duffel is sometimes a little bit more conducive than a suitcase. The luggage on the first day will be driven up to the cabins for the campers by our staff, so those will be up ready and waiting for them when it's time for them to kind of set in prior to camp. We don't have a requirement for COVID vaccines, just that testing requirement in place. And we ask that that testing requirement takes place 72 hours or 3 days before the start of the camp session. 3 o'clock, so our check-in time is from 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If there is an extenuating circumstance that might keep your camper from checking in during that time period, just shoot me an email and we can kind of work to try to accommodate that. They may miss some of our initial kind of cabin, bunk room, community building and our little different rotations to get them used to camp, but it's nothing that we can't catch them up on if we need to. Oh, the 2 weeks back-to-back sessions for the COVID test. just go ahead and send me an email about that and we can get that sorted out. That would be a very short time window to try to get tested. So we'll talk more about that. Counselors can help with spray sunscreen on the back or the shoulders for those swim days, or campers' friends can help out with that. Yeah, we recognize that on those swim days, maybe a little bit more is exposed to the sun, and we want to make sure that nobody's getting sunburnt from that. Good question. A question about the map of the camp. That's a great idea. I'm going to write a note to myself to try to put that together to add into one of the emails. That's a great idea. Any other questions? Seems like we're winding down just a little. Rapid tests are okay as long as they are proctored. So you can reach out to me if you have more questions about that, but essentially having it proctored via telehealth via the QR code on the test box is great. A question about getting a list of the free time activities prior so that campers can make a plan. At the beginning of the week, every camper will get a schedule that will indicate which activities are going to be offered during which campers' choice blocks, so that kind of each day or at the beginning of the week, they can kind of sit down and say, oh, I think I want to do this one during this block and this during that block, coordinate with their friends, all of that stuff. Melatonin is considered an over-the-counter and needs that signed medical release form for it to be administered. A question about campers and parents sending letters to each other. Absolutely, we encourage letters. This will be a topic of one of the emails that I send prior to camp starting, but you can send snail mail or an email or deliver letters in advance on arrival day to pass out to your campers, and campers can also send letters back if they would like to. If you order apparel in advance of camp, so like I mentioned, we have water bottles and hats and shirts, sweatshirts, all of those things. Those will be passed out on the first full day of camp. So on that Monday of camp, we'll get those items to campers. This recording will be posted on our website, hopefully by tomorrow or the day after, and we will send a link out to that to everybody once it's posted. Yes, vitamins do need to go through the nurse, so they need that signed medical release form to be passed out. Yes, if you drop off care packages or letters for your camper to be passed out, just writing like to be passed out on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday on the specific ones, we are happy to pass them out on those days. Great question. All right, it seems like things are slowing down just a little bit. I'll definitely hang around for a few more minutes, but just want to say thanks so much for joining us. We are really looking forward to the summer, and of course, be in touch if you have any questions. Another question about ideas for care packages. So really like things that you might find at the Dollar Tree or the dollar section of Target, little activity books, Play-Doh, light like glow sticks or like bouncy balls, little stuff like that is awesome to send in a care package, along with, of course, letters or photos, those kinds of things. Any other questions from anyone? Oh, pictures at camp. That is a great question. So we will have staff out taking photos during the day that we'll upload to a SmugMug account each night. We'll send a link to that specific session to all of the families in that session, kind of on that first or second day of camp. That specific SmugMug account is accessible by link only, so only the families that have campers at camp will have access to that account.
Nice job. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. This is much appreciated.
Of course, thanks so much. Yes, a counselor will be assigned to each bunk room and will stay in that room with the campers during the week. We would recommend probably not visiting your kids at the Aurora Reservoir, but if you happen to be there while we're there, we'll definitely say hi, but trying to really give the kids kind of that week of camp to explore who they are outside of home and meet and make new friends. We really recommend that. All right, any other questions? A question about the wait list. So the wait list can be kind of hard to predict, as it is all based on if somebody who is currently registered ends up canceling their registration. I know that can be somewhat frustrating when it comes to making plans. If a spot does become available and your camper is at the top of the wait list, we will be in touch via email to let you know that a spot has opened and see if you'd like to be moved into that session.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks so much.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Do you have a question, sir?
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And we'll text you about that COVID test for the back-to-back week.
Yeah, perfect. That is a great question. Thanks for mentioning that.
No problem. All right. Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Let's see. Do you have any questions? No.
All right, last call. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and sign off then. Thanks so much for joining. I hope everybody has a good rest of their evening. Bye.